Rabbi Yochanan, a sage who lived in the 3rd century CE, was once discussing the Exodus with his students. He cited the verse in Exodus chapter 14:29, that the waters formed a wall for them on their right and on their left. And Rabbi Yochanan asked, can you describe the appearance of the walls of the Red Sea when the waters parted for the children of Israel to cross? But his students could not answer. So Rabbi Yochanan continued, the walls were like a window lattice. Then, all at once, they heard a voice say, no, it was not like that at all. And when they looked up, they saw the face of a very old woman peering in the window of the house of study. Who are you? Demanded Rabbi Yochanan. I am Serach bat Asher, came the reply, and I know exactly what the walls were like. I was there. I crossed the sea, and the walls resembled shining mirrors in which every man, woman, and child was reflected, so that it seemed like an even greater multitude crossed there, not only those of the present generation, but those of the past and future as well. When Serach had finished speaking, no one dared contradict her, for her knowledge was firsthand. Serach bat Asher, Serach, the daughter of Asher, is the only woman mentioned in genealogical lists in both Genesis and Exodus. And because she is listed among the Israelites who went down to Egypt with Jacob and appears again in a list of those who entered the Promised Land, there's a wonderful set of midrashim, all centered on her extraordinarily long life. According to Jewish tradition, this granddaughter of Jacob not only lived through Yetziat Mitzrayim, the exodus from Egypt, but miraculously survived into the rabbinic period, hundreds of years later. In fact, some say she is still alive today. This would simply be a nice Jewish fairy tale, were it not for one thing. Serach's account of the shining mirrors at the Red Sea illustrates this miracle as universal. Every Jew, past, present, and future, participated in the Exodus. Every one of us lived through our ancestors' desperate moments of terror at the edge of the sea. Every one of us experienced their extraordinary liberation and renewal. As Rabbi Abraham Joshua Heschel wrote, we are a people in whom the past endures, in whom the present is inconceivable without moments gone by. The Exodus lasted a moment enduring forever. What happened once upon a time happens all the time. This week, the world marked International Holocaust Remembrance Day, a day to step out of our normal routine and recall the catastrophic, defining event in our people's modern history. As we think about those who came through the Shoah, the story of the Exodus comes alive once again. We imagine our enslaved ancestors standing at the shores of the Sea of Reeds, not knowing where to turn, with Pharaoh's army behind them and an impassable body of water before them. And then we think of the survivors of the Shoah, who stood between a past filled with traumatic memories and indescribable loss, and an unknown, frightening future. Many of them, having barely escaped annihilation, reenacted the Exodus. Like our Israelite ancestors, they walked forward into the unknown and miraculously rebuilt their lives. Did the Israelite slaves know they were acting heroically? Did Holocaust survivors recognize their miraculous resilience? Probably not at the time. In Yehuda Amichai's poem, Miracles, Nisim, he writes, from a distance, everything looks like a miracle, but up close, even a miracle doesn't appear so. Even someone who crossed the Red Sea when it split only saw the sweaty back of the one in front of him and the movement of his large thighs. So the survivors did what they had to do. They put one foot in front of the other, carrying their pain into a more hopeful future. And one more thing, when the Israelite slaves reached the other side of the sea, the Torah tells us they burst into joyful song. Ozi v'zimrat yav vayihili lishua, they sang. God is my strength, the strength of my song. God is my deliverance. Ze eli v'anvehu, Elohei aviv aroma menhu. This is my God to whom I give glory, my God whom I will exalt. We are reminded to seize moments of joy and sing out, to never delay joy. Abba Shaul, a sage in the land of Israel, offers a wonderful drash on the word ve'anvehu. He teaches, read this word as ani v'hu, he and I. or God and I. And the message, be similar to God. As God is compassionate and merciful, so too should you be compassionate and merciful. Ve'anvehu. In crossing the sea, we learn to turn our own suffering into positive action. Ze Eli, this is my God. This is what it means to behave like God. Having once been victims, we learn to use our power for good on behalf of the vulnerable. To stand up and fight for the oppressed is a divine act. So today, standing on the shore of our own sea of troubles, we will follow in the footsteps of our ancestors. We will put one foot in front of the other, moving ahead, doing what we have to do. We will carry loss and pain forward into a more hopeful future, liberated by vaccines and better medical treatments. We will help those who are suffering in every way we can. And we'll remember to do what Jews have always done. We will celebrate the miracle of life, and we will sing. And a poem for our time, I Worried, by Mary Oliver. I worried a lot. Will the garden grow? Will the rivers flow in the right direction? Will the earth turn as it was taught? And if not, how shall I correct it? Was I right? Was I wrong? Will I be forgiven? Can I do better? Will I ever be able to sing? Even the sparrows can do it, and I am, well, hopeless. Is my eyesight fading, or am I just imagining it? Am I going to get rheumatism, lockjaw, dementia? Finally, I saw that worrying had come to nothing and gave it up, and took my old body and went into the morning and sang. Shabbat Shalom.